Hello and welcome, fellow neuroscience enthusiasts. I'm Collin Long, and you're watching another episode of 300 Seconds of Science. Have you ever felt that when you see certain colors, that you can also taste them? Maybe you feel like you can smell sounds. That's probably because you have synesthesia, which can essentially be defined as a blending of two or more senses. This phenomenon occurs whenever one of our senses is simultaneously being perceived by another, or when certain objects, names, or even sounds becomes entangled with one of our sensory perceptions such as smell and flavor. Almost everyone's experience with synesthesia is different, and it can occur in any combination of the senses, but the types of synesthesia tend to fall into two categories: projective and associative. Projective being that someone can literally hear, feel, or see something that isn't tangible in response to a stimulus, while associative synesthesia is when someone associates a stimulus with colors, shapes, sounds, or concepts, but does not literally experience it. For example, someone with projective synesthesia might hear a piano and see blue shapes in space, while someone with associative synesthesia might think that the piano sounds blue. This particular example of synesthesia is called chromesthesia, in which everyday sounds such as a door slamming, birds whistling, or bantering can trigger seeing colors. But the most common form of synesthesia is GraphemeColor synesthesia, which is when an individual perceives letters and numbers in colors. For instance, the letter A might appear to be red, and the number 5 might appear to be green, and so on. As far as what causes a person to have synesthesia, there doesn't seem to be a consensus, but it's generally thought to either be an inherited trait or something you develop early in childhood. It's also thought that our senses, hearing, sight, touch, smell, and taste, are interlinked at birth before a gene develops that cuts these connections and allows these senses to be experienced independently. For people who do experience synesthesia, some of those connections were never severed. It's also generally described as a cross-wiring in the brain. For example, say when you're listening to your favorite music, which then activates the auditory cortex of the brain, you're also receiving visual stimuli while listening to the music. In essence, you're seeing music, whether it be certain colors or other imagery that you associate with that music. That means that when the sound processing in the brain is transferred to the parietal and frontal lobes of the human cerebral cortex, the visual cortex, located in the occipital lobe, is activated, causing involuntary interconnected cooperation between different cortexes in your brain. It almost sounds like you have superpowers, and that's because in many cases, it allows people to have extra-dimensional perceptions of the world around them. Some famous musicians describe themselves as synesthetes, as well as many others, where according to Pitchfork, Duke Ellington described D notes as a dark blue burlap or G notes as a light blue satin. And Pharrell Williams, who says that he sees burgundy or baby blue whenever he listens to Earth, Wind, and Fire, and he even used this as a basis for one of his albums, Seeing Sounds. And Billie Eilish, who often tries to make songs that she thinks sounds the way that certain colors look or how certain fabrics feel, like velvet or corduroy. Let's look at another example, such as myself. I tasted eggnog for the first time while listening to Lord's music on the radio, and now I get the taste of eggnog in my mouth whenever I hear her music. Such are the odd benefits or inconveniences of synesthesia. So whenever my auditory cortex is activated by Lord's music, it also activates the gustatory cortex connected with my taste buds. Luckily, there never seems to be a downside to having synesthesia, and many who have it would never want to lose it, because it's just a fundamental way of how we perceive the world around us. If you have similar experiences with synesthesia, feel free to tell us in the comments down below, or by sending us a tweet. And as always, the best way to keep up to date with all of your scientific inquiries is by subscribing to 300 Seconds of Science on YouTube, liking us on Facebook, following us on Twitter, and showing us some love on Instagram. This is Collin Long, and be sure to go out, enjoy life, and stay curious.
This program was produced by ZTV at the University of Akron. Do you want to gain experience in video production, professional social media, or working with real clients? Visit the UA School of Communications online or follow us on social media to learn more. ZTV, make media, make a difference.